On episode 390 of the 40 Plus Fitness podcast, we're going to have a solo episode entitled I Am Human. You can find the full show notes for this episode at 40plusfitnesspodcast.com/390. Have you decided you're ready to make a change? To reclaim your health and fitness? The 40 Plus Fitness podcast is here for you. I'm your host, Alan Meisner. I'm an NSAM certified personal trainer with a specialization in corrective exercise and fitness nutrition. Let me be your coach as you find your way on your health and fitness journey. All right, let's go. Hello. This is going to be a solo episode, and it's going to be slightly different than most of the other solo episodes that I've done. I want to start this one with a quote. I'm reading a book for an upcoming podcast episode. Really looking forward to talking to this guy, and I know you're going to get a lot out of that conversation. But he has a lot of quotes in his book, and this is one that just really resonated with me at this point in my life. It is easier to provide wisdom to others than to ourselves. Francois de la Rochefoucauld. Now, the reason this one kind of hits me in the gut is, I've been doing the health and fitness thing for a while now. The podcast has been going on for over 3.5 years. This is episode 390. So I've had a lot of conversations about health and fitness. I've had a lot of solo talks with you about health and fitness. And, I feel like I know my thing. But just to be bluntly honest, over the course of the last couple months, I haven't been doing things for myself the way that I preach to you that you should be doing for you. And so, I effectively call this my slide. And over the course of the last couple of months, I've kind of been on this slide. And there are a lot of things that I could put out there and say, this is why it happened. This is the cause. When this goes away, then things will get better. But I need to go ahead and address this. And in addressing it and going through the mental processes of, getting myself mentally ready to change this, to solve this problem, I've come across some things that I think would be valuable to share with you. So I'm going to take this step back and kind of talk about what's been going on over the last few months to kind of set the stage for where I am right now. As you know, my wife and I decided to move down to Panama. We put the house on the market in December, thinking it would sell fairly quickly. It was a hot market. Everybody's telling us, that our house was in a prime location. Everybody would want to see it. Everybody would want it. So we didn't expect the house to stay on the market very long, and we already planned our trip to travel down in February. But unfortunately, the house did not sell before February. And in fact, it's still on the market, which is a little concerned. But it is what it is. We just have to deal with this. But we decided to go ahead and go back to the United States to get better organized, because we were afraid if someone came in and wanted to close, we'd be running into a time crunch of getting movers in, getting cleaners in, getting everything organized. So we wanted to do a few things to get organized for a move, make it a little bit easier for us when the time does come. And then we also wanted to get our dogs. We had 2 dogs. Jojo is a Chihuahua, and Angel is a German Shepherd. We wanted to get them down here to Panama with us because we missed them a lot. And so we traveled up there to do some work on the house, to pack up some things, dealing with the movers, getting all that organized. So about 99% of the things that we had in the house have been moved out into a storage. And where we're going to just figure out what we want to keep and what we want to get rid of over the course of the next several months. Unfortunately, our oldest dog, Jojo, the Chihuahua, he had kidney failure, and we had to put him down. So it was a very difficult few weeks at home. Then we did manage to get Angel down here, but I can tell you transporting a dog from one country to another is extremely difficult. You have to follow a very meticulous process, and if you mess it up, they could send the dog back. And so it's kind of expensive to make sure that you've lined everything up. We hired professionals to make sure that it all worked out, and we got her here. She's happy and settled in, so that's a good relief. That's happened. And then, of course, you probably know that I bought the gym. And so I bought a local gym here, and I've been putting a lot of sweat equity and time into, getting the gym back up to a better standard. I've been buying equipment, getting the place painted and cleaned. So there's been a lot of work that's been being done that's kept me kind of busy, keeping that up, keeping the podcast up, and then, of course, serving my clients and just trying to be the resource that I need to be and do the things I'm supposed to do. Unfortunately, like I said, over the course of that time, I let myself fall back into old habits. I let myself become less than who I thought I should be. And I'm very disappointed in myself. I have a very high standard for who I am, and I'm not walking the talk. I'm not doing what I'm telling you to do on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis. And that's very disappointing to me. I'm disappointed in myself. Now, I could continue to sit and wallow in this self-pity aspect. I could continue to be mad at myself. And in the end, that would not solve my problem. My problem is I've kind of I'm doing these chores, I'm moving equipment around, I'm doing this stuff as that's my exercise when it's not adequate. I've been avoiding, worrying about what I'm eating for the sake of convenience, of, freeing up time if I'm not shopping for healthy food, which is not a big deal, but I can tell you when I actually do a really good shopping trip here, it requires me to walk to about 5 different stores to get the things that I want, to get good good healthy vegetables, to get good eggs, to get good meat. It requires me to check out several stores to get the best, freshest foods that I can get. So it's an effort. It's not just it's a ready for you walk into one place and it's all there. And I haven't been doing that. I haven't, been really focused on that, and I've let that slide. And then from a joy perspective, I'm very happy with my situation here. We've got my wife here. I've got my puppy here. Very, very happy being in the jungle, looking at the monkeys and the birds, and living close enough to the beach that I can just walk straight down to the beach and enjoy that. And then I love the fact that I have access to and I own a gym. It's something I had thought and dreamed kind of about early in my life, many years ago. And so it's something that's kind of come to fruition at a perfect time in my life when I'm ready to be a gym owner, and it fits with who I am as an individual. So the joy component's there, but I still kept hearing the old voice, as I put in the book, the fat bastard. He keeps rearing his ugly head, and with the negative self-talk and all of that. So I knew I needed to nip this in the bud, and I came up with a fairly simple set of steps to describe what I'm in the process of doing. And I do believe these steps are very effective because they kind of intertwine and finger very well with the GPS process that I go over in the book and that I've talked about on the podcast several times. The first is forgive, then it's action plan, and then it's execute. So the best way I can put this together, and if you think about it in terms of, let's say you missed your turn and you should have taken a left and you didn't take that left, and as a result, you're continuing down the road. You're now on the wrong road. And maybe you've been on that wrong road for a long time. My slide now has only been a few months, but it dovetails with my feasting period. So it actually was not the optimal time for me to have a slide. So I'm doing this slide and I need to turn this around. What do I do? Well, the first thing I have to do is forgive myself. It does me absolutely no good to continue to talk down to myself, to reprimand myself, to feel bad about myself for those inactions and actions that I did that were not in my best interest, not in the interest of me being well, not in the interest of me being the person that I see in my vision, and not being true to my why. I could continue to beat myself up about that, but I have to finish that. I have to be done with that if I'm ever going to do anything about this. So the first step is to forgive yourself. And this can often be the hardest step because, we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to be perfect. And that's another reason why I wanted to call this episode, I Am Human, is that we've got to get past that perfectionism if we want to see progress. We really have to sit back and say, look, I'm just a human being. I'm going to make mistakes. There's going to be slides. There's going to be injuries. That's a part of the journey. And overcoming those quickly, getting myself back on track, that's really the best course of action for me right now, which leads us to the second step in this, which is an action plan. So if we're driving in the wrong direction, it's pretty simple. Look for the next exit so you can turn around, or look for an opportunity to do a U-turn and find that opportunity and take it. So having an action plan, what are the things that I can do to get myself back on track? And I know what they are. They've worked for me in the past. They'll continue to work for me. I need to get myself back into ketosis. I need to get my body moving. I need to start moving heavy weights. I need to do the things that work for me that have always worked. And everything that's going on for me right now, everything that I still want, my vision and my why are still intact. I've evaluated those again and said, okay, they're still intact. I still want to go where I wanted to go. I don't want to go down this road, so I have to turn this around. And that's where the action plan comes in. Figuring out what you have to do to turn it around and get yourself back to moving in the direction that you want to move. And then the final part of it is execute. You can write all the plans in the world. You can say, I want to start lifting heavy again. I want to get back in the gym and start doing that thing. But you gotta show up. You got to go do it again. Now, it might mean that you backtracked a little bit. It might mean that you've got to use a little bit less weight. It might mean when you go to do your cardio training, you're a little bit slower, or the distance you're doing now is a little bit less. That's fine. We'll get back onto that progression, the gentle nudging, all the things that we know work for us. It's time for us to do that. So it's forgive, action plan, and execute. So if I missed my turn, once I know that I've done that, it's time for me to forgive myself for doing it, find the opportunity to turn the car around, and then start driving back in the direction I should have driven in the first place. So I hope you took something valuable. But before we go, I wanted to close with another quote that's in that book. Like I said, I think you're going to enjoy this episode that's coming up with Michelle. But this one's a little bit longer, but I want to go through this. Pay attention to your thoughts, for they will become words. Pay attention to your words, for they will become actions. Pay attention to your actions, for they will become habits. Pay attention to your habits, for they will become your character. Pay attention to your character, for it will become your fate. And that's by Talmud. That quote means a lot to me today. Since I've forgiven myself, I've set an action plan, and now it's time for me to execute. And what I know is the thoughts that I've been having are now going to be positive thoughts. They're going to be affirmative. I can get this done. I may pull out my journal and start reviewing that again each morning, setting my intentions for each day to make sure that my thoughts become my words become my actions. And then you see where the rest of that go. If I begin regular actions that put me back on the proper path, then I will begin to develop the habits that will get me there. That will put me back into the frame of mind of being successful and being who I want to be. And that's going to define my character. And then obviously, if I'm doing the things that I'm supposed to be doing more often than not, then I'm going to have a much better fate than if I stay on this slide and don't follow through with the process of forgiving, action plan, and execute. So if you're not feeling it, if you're upset with what's going on in your life right now, realize you can do something about it. Follow these steps, and they will get you there. If you didn't take anything else away from this lesson, but this one thing, that the journey to wellness is actually not a destination. We don't ever really arrive there. Our lives are going to be filled with twists and turns. It's going to be filled with injuries and slips. And it's going to happen to all of us. And none of us are above being human. If you're on this path and you're really struggling to, either forgive yourself
2, come up with a good plan, or 3, execute. I do want to be a part of that solution, and I want to help you. So if you would go to 40plusfitnesspodcast.com/human, that'll take you to my calendar. We can book a free, it's completely complimentary, no obligation, 15-minute call. And on the call, we can talk about where you are in your health and fitness journey, what help you might need, what decisions you need to make, if you need to forgive yourself, the opportunity to do so and how to go about doing that, and then the plan and the execution. I want to be there and be a part of that solution. If you'll go to 40plusfitnesspodcast.com/human, you can book your call today and we can get you on your path straight away. Thank you. Next time on the 40 Plus Fitness Podcast, we meet Kristen Jones and discuss her book, When Food Is Your Drug. Until then, have a happy and healthy day.